Good afternoon.
Do you know why I stopped you today?
I have no idea.
Heard you were looking to interview a great American woman.
We are at the police station. I am Candace Kanavel, Miss Arizona USA, and I'm also a Tempe police officer. So right now we're at our headquarters for the police department, one of our 3 stations. I never really saw it in the cards for me growing up. I was always gung-ho on being the first female president of the United States. And so I went into school at ASU to study political science. And as I was studying it, I was like, man, politics are tanking. And that was like 2014. So I was like, I want to do something that affects change in a hands-on way. And so I took a criminal justice class just to kind of see my other options. And my professor was a former Phoenix officer. And he was like, well, let me introduce you to some people. He hooked me up with Tempe. I applied for a job, an internship with the department, and they hired me in 2016 as a media relations assistant. Basically, we just got body cameras. I was starting to edit the footage for media, and then as I was working for the department, I started to really just see all that goes into serving a community. I got to do a lot of ride-alongs with the officers, and I was sold. I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. And so in 2018, I graduated ASU with criminal justice degree, and then started the academy in 2019 and never looked back. I really am passionate about the human trafficking realm as far as those investigations go. I've worked a lot with that unit and seeing what a lot of people don't get to see. It's a very sensitive topic, so being able to see that world and how much goes on in it has made me really passionate about it. That's something I hope to go into later in my career as a detective. This is one of my favorite stories because it actually connects with law enforcement in a very unique way. So I started pageants based on an event that I went to in high school called Shop with a Cop. And I saw a girl there with a sash and a crown, and I was like, I want to do that. And I come from a family of athletes, so my mom laughed at me when I said that. And I was like, well, I'm going to do it anyways. And so I went home, signed up, unbeknownst to any of my family members. 2 weeks later, I was Miss Teen San Jose and going to compete at a state pageant. And so I loved it. I loved the skills that it fostered. I loved the relationships that I got out of it. And it really taught me public speaking, how to be a leader, how to connect with the community. And now all of the skills that I've gotten through pageants, I've been able to carry with me into my career as an officer. I think it was trying so many times. It was building that resilience. I competed for 6 years before winning Miss Arizona USA, and loss is hard, but I think it taught me a lot about learning about who I am and what I have to offer. And once I really figured that out, it was like it clicked for me. I really figured out my why. Why was I doing this? What was I going to do with the title? And once I nailed that down, it was a no-brainer to take the title and run with it. So there's a lot of different pageant organizations. I competed in the Miss USA organization. So within that, there is swimsuit, evening gown, and interview. An interview holds the largest portion of our score because they want a woman who can speak, who has things to speak about, and they want to know that you can walk into a room with any type of person and be able to have a conversation and really engage with them. So that was my favorite portion of the competition. It's where I feel I do the best. The hardest part of the competition was probably coming back so many years after not winning. I competed for the pageant for 6 years. And so to really build that resilience and keep trying, knowing that this is what I really wanted, once I really figured out my why of why I wanted the title and what I would do with it, that's when it really clicked, and that's when I finally won. It's definitely a different world, I will say that, but something that helped me in my final couple years competing and helped me do my best as far as performance goes was feeling the energy that I have when I have my uniform on. I remember before I went on stage, I was like, just go out there and act like you're wearing your vest, because when I'm an officer and I go out, I can talk to anybody. I can conquer things that most people wouldn't expect of someone of my stature and my femininity. And so when I competed at Miss USA, or Miss Arizona USA and Miss USA, I really took on my persona as an officer, and I was like, I can do anything, and walked out there and carried that with me. A lot of it is just interacting with the community. I always said the best way to prepare for a pageant is to do what the winner would do. And so it was getting out there with my community, engaging, and my job as an officer has helped me so much with that, because that's what I do for a living. I get out there, I help people on their worst days, and to take that and apply it into the pageant world just it was very seamless. I think physical fitness goes beyond just what you look like. It's about how you feel inside, and that's what I think a lot of officers and pageant contestants miss. They think it's just about how you look or what it's going to do for you, but I think mentally it helps us a lot, especially in law enforcement today where there's so much push on the mental wellness side. I think physical fitness helps directly with that. And so maintaining my physical fitness has always been very important to me because I know how it makes me feel, and I want to be able to, both as Miss Arizona USA and as Officer Kanavel, I want to be able to go out there and serve to the best of my ability, and if I'm not physically fit, I can't serve people the best way. So I have to take care of myself so that I can properly take care of others. I was on midnights for my first 2 years, and I was also competing, and then I switched to a night schedule that wasn't quite till 6 a.m., but still overnight. So for me, it was just a lot of time management, making sure that I'm getting the essentials, enough sleep, well fed, I guess you could say, even nutrition, and then doing things on my off time that help balance that. So it's really just a balancing act. You're making sure you're putting in the time for yourself, but also, staying on top of your work at the police department as well as my training preparation for Miss Arizona USA. I would say to women who don't believe in themselves or maybe having some doubts about what they can do, that you can do it. My tagline has always been, yes, she can. And I want every woman to know that. Your dreams are not mutually exclusive. You can be anything and everything that you want to be. So go for it. Whatever it is that you're wanting to pursue, you absolutely can conquer it if you put your mind to it, put in the hard work, and don't let anybody stop you from getting there. I recently just got engaged. Got the ring here. My fiance is actually an officer too, so we'll be a big law enforcement family, and I'm just really grateful for all of the opportunities that have come my way throughout this year, from winning Miss Arizona USA, competing at Miss USA, getting engaged, and continuing to be able to serve my community while doing all of that. It's been such a blessing. All of the turmoil going on in law enforcement with defund the police and the different movements that have been trying to pin officers in a bad light, it's been difficult. I started my career at the height of Black Lives Matter, at the height of the George Floyd incident, and so coming into it, I was a young, excited cop ready to serve the community, only to have people that I considered friends at that time say, how could you be a cop? You're racist, you're this or that. And so it was definitely challenging, but I think we're really starting to see the pendulum swing back. And I think using this unique opportunity, being Miss Arizona USA and a police officer, has been such a gift because I've been able to humanize officers a little bit by sharing my own story. I've been able to show everyone that we as officers are real humans. We have families, we have passions, we have hobbies that can be completely opposite of what we're doing. And that's my whole goal. I just want people to understand that we are human, and I think if we can get to each other on a human level like that, we'll start to see the bridge come together with the community and law enforcement. To those who are questioning what I'm doing, being a police officer and competing on a pageant stage, that's okay. I understand that it's difficult to grasp when you don't know this world of pageants and you're like, how could the two go together? What I'd have to say to them is just that we need to be supportive of each other. We are facing a lot of difficult things from the outside. We don't need to bring it internally, and I think if we start to uplift each other internally, our morale will go up and we'll be able to serve people better, and our jobs will in turn get better. I think it's okay if you don't understand it or you don't get it, or even if you don't like it, but continue to support your coworkers, your partners, your squad mates, because that's only going to make our organizations better and our profession of law enforcement better. I actually got recognized for the first time the other day at In-N-Out, which is funny. But before that, I had not, and I was actually pretty surprised, but kind of glad, because I want to just be able to do my job and not be bothered by, people who are like, oh my gosh, it's you. But my coworkers have said that people come up to them and say, do you know Miss Arizona USA? And I think that's just so funny, and it's such a cool thing. And even that, I think, is what brings the community closer, because if they're comfortable enough to be like, oh, do you know this person, as opposed to being afraid to talk to an officer, it's opening a conversation, which I think is huge. I've had a very tumultuous road being a female officer, coming into a male-dominated industry with no military background, no law enforcement in my family, being obviously a very feminine woman. I compete in pageants. It's been a challenge because I think people look at me and see my femininity and think I'm weak because of it, or I may not understand the job. But I can be both, and that's what I'm really trying to show people, is that you can have that side to you, but if you show up to work, if you train hard, if you have the mental preparedness to do the job, it doesn't matter what your hobbies are, you can absolutely do that. So that's been one of the challenges. I think another thing is that even though we've progressed so much as a profession, I think there's a lot of different areas that can be improved upon when it comes to females in this profession. I think making sure that females have other female mentors, and so that's a huge passion of mine, is being able to, when I see new female officers come in, to kind of take them under my wing a little bit and guide them if they have any questions. I know I felt very uncomfortable when I was new, because I'm like, who do I ask? I don't want to sound stupid. They don't really want to help a girl. And I want to just make sure that other female officers are encouraged to come into the profession, because we need women, and that they know that they have a friend as soon as they join the Tempe Police Department. My femininity has come in handy several times. I have actually had a situation where I was going to contact this person who was out of his mind, just ready to fight. I knew that it was gonna be a fight. So I walked up to him, he's swinging his arms. I tell him to turn around, and then he sees it's me and he's like, oh, you're a female, and puts his hands behind his back. So I've had things like that, which is crazy. Or yeah, just in general traffic stops, I'll pull somebody over and they're like, oh, and it kind of just de-arms them a little bit, and they're like, I can relax, and this is a normal person, which I think is so interesting, because my male counterparts, they're real humans too, but I think there's something about a female presence that is a little more calming, and so I use it to my advantage, and it's been a great asset for me. Shameless plug, follow the Tempe Police Department. I'm actually helping with their social media right now, so we could boost that. And then if you want to follow my journey, or kind of see a little bit into my world as an officer and as Miss Arizona USA, if you want to follow my journey, see what I'm doing as an officer and as Miss Arizona USA, you can follow my Instagram account at Candace Kanavel, or at Miss AZ USA. My name is Candace Kanavel, and I'm a great American woman.
Thanks for watching this episode of Great American Warriors, featuring the women of America who are serving all Americans, both overseas as well as right here at home. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can know when new episodes are released. If you or someone you know is a great American warrior, message us today to be considered for an upcoming episode.